ways. But one thing I wanted to talk about is like the commonalities between people, regardless of their backgrounds, that actually wind up attempting or committing suicide. And some of these, mostly it's a snowball effect. So it's not one or two things that, usually lead to someone attempting suicide. Usually it's the ball starts rolling and these things build upon themselves.
Yeah, right.
They create their own momentum in people's lives. And once the momentum started, unless there's a change in direction or a shift, it's hard to get that momentum to stop.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of the things that are associated with suicide are obviously depression, anxiety disorders, isolation, drug and alcohol abuse, PTSD, impulse control disorders, and TBI. Those are some of the common medical comorbidities associated with suicide.
Yeah.
Veterans are at a higher risk of experiencing these disorders because of the experiences that they had in the military,
right.
and transitioning out of the military. The military,
that's got to be super hard
for sure.
It's just stepping into a completely different world. Like going to work as a civilian, and it's that's got to be really super hard.
Well, especially after you've seen death, I mean, some of your comrades have died. You've been through the trauma, and it'd be hard to kind of get back to normal.
Well, you experience abnormal things in high proportion, but at the point where you're in the military, the other people around you are dealing with those same things. So you have a community that you can lean on, for support and for understanding. I think the problem comes is when soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen transition.
Yeah.
They're not as surrounded by that community.
Right.
And so it becomes isolating, and it becomes, well, nobody really understands me.
Yeah, maybe they try and crack a joke or something like that. That's kind of a dark humor, and no one else gets it, and you think then you're a weirdo, and it's just
another piece to that snowball, right?
Yeah, it just keeps going downhill.
Yeah, and so your coping mechanisms are being slowly eroded, and so you find it harder and harder to control the feelings that you're having, and maintain, just maintain a positive outlook and positive energy.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I'm like, when I think about these people going through this, and I can totally relate to those feelings, but there needs to be some kind of way that people can communicate with each other, and it's all about I guess it's all about having a battle buddy.
I agree. Yeah, definitely having a battle buddy and checking in with your battle buddies, and knowing what's going on, not even in a military sense, but just in a friendship sense, or a partnership sense. Being aware of what's going on with the people in your life, and how the situations that they're going through could be negatively affecting them, even though they might not. They might actively be trying to hide the fact that they're suffering. Nobody wants to be a burden on their family and friends. So when they're suffering, they'll put on a happy face while they're around you, or while you're doing activities or whatever, where inside, they're struggling to maintain that control,
Are you speaking from personal experience?
Yeah, to a certain point. Yes. I felt like I was a leader, and I was, people counted on me, so, I needed to be an example.
Yeah.
And then conversely, you know, inside, you know, in my own head, I was like, well, I'm a leader. Like my life's falling apart.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you find that being in the leadership role, it makes it harder to like admit you have those types of things going on in your personal life?
Absolutely. I think ego plays a huge part in that. You know, you're not that you're like some egomaniacal person, but you're like, you know, I have responsibilities. I have, you know, I have people that, you know, look up to me and are looking to me to guide them this way or that way. You know, so me showing any fallibility or flaw, you know, only serves to erode their trust and confidence in me and my ability to make decisions.
Exactly.
You know, so it makes it hard to find those people that you can rely on to you know, to go deep, to, you know, fuck.
So did somebody called you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I still remember that. Well, I remember when we talked to you the first time, dude, like it was heavy. I was like, dude, I got chills. Yeah. I was like, whoa, dude.
It was, you know, it was utterly serendipitous, and I'm eternally grateful.
Sure.
You know, and that's all it takes is somebody reaching out, you know, and just kind of seeing like, holy shit, like, you know, my buddy's going through a hard time. You know, maybe I should just give him a call and see how he's doing. And it just so happened, like, you know, my friend reached out to me, and it made all the difference in my life.
Yeah. Like know? Minutes and before it could have
literally
happened.
It saved your life.
Yeah. It literally saved my life. Man. You know, I was minutes, like you said, I was minutes away.
Yeah, dude.
You know, and, you know, once I got checked, it changed everything. It was like, why am I just sitting here feeling sorry for myself? I put myself, it's like when I was a drill sergeant, I used to tell the soldiers that I was training, like, you put yourself here. You signed up for this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you need to fight to get through it because this is something you chose, you know, and, you know, I had to take responsibility for my life. Like this, you know, the reason I'm sitting here feeling sorry for myself is because of decisions that I made or, you know, and I have to, it's like, you know, that whole Jocko, like extreme ownership mentality.
Exactly.
Like I have to own my failures and my wins. I can't just own my wins.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that realization and then the problem solving of, okay, you know, I'm at point X. How do I get to point Y and start working my way back? You know, just help me plan out a route. Once I had a route planned out, I had hope. You know, and once I had hope,
and
those feelings went away.
What did that path look like for you personally?
So the path for me looked like, you know, basically like what I said in the previous interview. Like, I'm not happy now.
Yeah.
I don't like where my life is at and where it's trending to. You know, what contributed to that, and where do I want to go in the future? You know, if there's hope for the future, then there's hope.
Yeah.
And if there's hope, there's a way out.
Yep.
Right.
You know, and so I had to decide, like, well, I can sit here in this garage, you know, drinking this bottle of whiskey, feeling sorry for myself, or I can, you know, dust off, you know,
reload, recalibrate,
you know, exactly, and get back in the fight for my life, you know, and that's that recalibration phase took a little bit, you know, like I you know, I needed to get my bearings. I knew I wasn't in a good position, you know, but I also knew, like, well, what I really want is I want a family. I want connection with, you know, another human being who loves and cares about me as much as I love and care about them. You know, I want to be a positive influence in people's lives. I don't want to be a anchor around people's necks that they have to drag around.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and I want to live up to the commitments that I made, you know, about being a leader and being an example and being,
Yeah.
the person that people want to follow.
Extreme ownership again.
Yeah. You know, so it took me a while. I started reading books. I started, you know, The Art of Happiness. You know, that was a good one well, I listened to it, but you know, that was a good one to listen to because it just kind of shifted my perspective,
right.
you know, away from being me centric to being other people centric,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
That makes
because
sense.
if I can boost other people up,
Yeah.
well, that boosts me up, you know,
Yeah,
a rising tide lifts all ships.
You get more out of it than the person receiving the whatever you doing for them. Like it's almost a selfish thing to an extent. Like you can get so much out of like just listening or sharing your story or whatever.
Yeah, it's the most selfish, non-selfish thing that you can do.
It's super interesting. So quickly, I visited my father in the mental institution years ago, and he was suicidal at the time. And when we got there, that's all he talked about was like, you think that window right there could stop a 300-pound man? I could jump through that window. He was talking about pulling legs off of the table that he could impale himself. I mean, that's all he talked about.
That's scary.
And when I asked him, I said, so I'm not worth you staying here. Am I not worth you staying here? Like when I asked him that, I don't think it even crossed his mind. And then I'm like, could you at least live for me?
Yeah.
For your kids? You have 10 of them. And I don't think it crossed his mind until I asked him. And then he...
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to ask the tough questions.
It changed from the focus on himself to, oh, wait, there are people that actually care about me, and they need me here.
Yeah.
So
well, and I'm really...
Yeah, wow. It was a tough experience.
I bet. I've been in a similar situation, and I definitely empathize with like how you felt in that moment. And I think that you bring up a hugely important point is that, you know, in that moment, you're being so selfish that you're not even thinking about who else am I impacting by this decision that I'm about to make to end my own life. You know, there are people who are going to there's children that are going to have to live with knowing that, oh, you know, my mom or dad gave up on me.
Yeah. Right.
You know, family and friends that are like, well, I didn't know they were suffering. I would have done something, and they have to live with that guilt. You know, and so you're putting all of that on, you're putting all of your pain on other people, and that's not fair. That's not owning your bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, you know, you need to fix the situations in your life that you created. And the only way to do that is to stop running from them, turn around and face them, even though it's terrifying and it's scary and you don't want to go into those scary places. You know, when you get through it, that burden is lifted off of you, and you see the world in a different light. You know, you see your life in a different way. You know, it can be paradigm changing.
I just watched a thing that Joe Rogan posted about interviewing Tyson Fury, and it like Tyson Fury is, if you don't know who he is he's a boxer, and he's
sounds like a tap dancer name though, you know.
He was actually named after Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
As a kid, and so he goes through these types of things constantly. It's like a daily struggle for him to even put on his shoes or whatever. But once he does, he feels so much better that he uses that momentum of doing positive things as his fuel for to get through the day.
Yeah.
Well, and the, like you said, the momentum is important, and the little things start creating that momentum, and then you know, you're creating a different snowball, instead of a snowball of negativity, you're creating a